Are you worried about lawsuit protection and want to protect yourself? Today we're here diving into a topic that can literally mean the difference between financial security and losing everything overnight. Picture working your whole life building something, only to worry about having it snatched away in a frivolous lawsuit. So if you own a business, real estate, or have a sizable investment portfolio, and you worry that one legal attack could wipe you out, well, today I'm giving you the ultimate guide to offshore asset protection. I'm the CEO of a law firm specializing in asset protection, and at Asset Protection Planners, my firm and I have set up more asset protection trusts offshore than any firm in the world. And today we're going to be talking about the best way to safeguard your wealth against lawsuits, creditors, and unforeseen legal battles. So we'll break it all down from why you need offshore asset protection to how to set it up and maintain it. And I'll share real-world examples, case studies, and a few jaw-dropping statistics that will open your eyes to the hidden risks lurking in the U.S. legal system. So stick around because I'll be revealing the number one mistake that people make with offshore asset protection trusts that can cost them everything. So subscribe for more tips like this, and let's get started. So why offshore asset protection? First, let's talk about why asset protection is necessary, especially offshore asset protection. And it's not just for the super rich. In today's litigious society, anyone with assets is a potential target. Number one, the ever-increasing risk of lawsuits. Here in the U.S., we have more lawsuits per capita than any country in the world. And according to the American Bar Association, there are over 40 million lawsuits filed every year. So that's nearly one new lawsuit for every 7 Americans every single year. The U.S. legal system is an absolute minefield for anyone with assets. If you have money, you're a target, period. Take, for example, a physician I worked with recently. He was sued 3 times in just 2 years, even though the courts never found a single medical error that he had committed. The lawsuits were completely frivolous, but it still cost him over $250,000 in legal fees before he even stepped into a courtroom. If he had set up an offshore asset protection trust and his opponents caught wind of it, those lawsuits wouldn't have even been worth pursuing. They would have been a non-starter. So he could have just laughed them off. Another example is a small business owner I know. He owned a chain of restaurants. A customer slipped and fell, and it was clearly the customer's fault. The lawsuit threatened to bankrupt him. He was facing a multi-million-dollar judgment. Fortunately, he had the foresight to set up an offshore asset protection trust. So we were able to negotiate a very reasonable settlement because the plaintiff's attorney knew if they tried to go after his assets, they would have hit a brick wall. So number 2, protecting your family's future. Now imagine working for 30, 40 years, building wealth for your family, only to have it stripped away by one lawsuit. Asset protection isn't just about you, it's about ensuring your children, your spouse, and future generations don't suffer because of a legal attack against you. So it's also about legacy. It's about peace of mind. Number 3, financial instability and economic uncertainty. With inflation, market fluctuations, and banking crises, keeping your wealth in one country is really a massive risk when you think about it. Diversification isn't just for stocks. It also applies to where you hold your assets too. In fact, there have been more bank failures in the U.S. by far in places like Switzerland, the European Union. So there are a lot safer banks in the U.S. If you look up the 50 safest banks in the U.S., only one bank is on that list of the top 50 safest banks, and I believe it's like number 47 on the list. So there are a lot safer banks outside the U.S. than there are inside. If you haven't thought that only U.S. banks are safe, it's actually quite the opposite. On top of that, a properly structured offshore trust provides a legal firewall between your wealth and anybody trying to take it. So basically, it's about not putting all your eggs in one basket. And that includes the basket of your home country. Okay, understanding the basics. Now that we know why offshore asset protection is essential, let's break down how it works. Let's go ahead and get into the nuts and bolts. And we'll talk about, number 1, the best offshore jurisdictions. Now, not all offshore jurisdictions are created equal. Some are fantastic for asset protection, while others are outright dangerous. The best jurisdictions have strong asset protection laws, political stability, and do not recognize foreign judgments. There are also jurisdictions that are not easily swayed by pressures from other countries. The top choice, in my professional opinion, and the opinion of many experts in the field, is the Cook Islands. In fact, I have a Cook Islands trust for myself and my family. Why? Because the Cook Islands have the strongest asset protection laws in the world. Here's what makes them unique. First of all, they do not recognize U.S. court judgment. They don't recognize foreign judgment. So if someone sues you in the U.S., it means nothing in the Cook Islands. It's like trying to enforce a parking ticket in a different country. They simply won't recognize it. Next, the statute of limitations on fraudulent conveyance is just 1 year from the time a lawsuit is filed. Now, let me break that down for you. That means when you put your money into an asset protection trust, the judge can say, I think you moved that into that trust to move it away from a judgment creditor, and I'm going to try to seize it. If it's in the U.S., they can take it. If it's offshore, U.S. judges don't have jurisdiction over the foreign trustees or the foreign trust companies, so your assets are protected and safe. A fraudulent conveyance is mainly a civil matter, by and large a civil matter, not a criminal one. Now, just to be clear, the Cook Islands Trust does protect assets right away, so this just means that if you move your assets to a Cook Islands Trust before a legal issue arises, they're protected immediately. And when enough time has passed, your opponent tries to file an objection to that transfer of funds in the Cook Islands would reject even hearing the case at all. That's all that means. So this is crucial. Timing is everything. Next, the burden of proof in the Cook Islands is on the creditor. They must prove their case beyond a shadow of a doubt that your asset was transferred fraudulently, which is practically impossible to prove. In fact, we've never seen it happen. So this is just a huge advantage, and it puts the onus on the person trying to take your money and not on you. So number two, how a Cook Islands Trust works. Now, here's where we get into the magic. When you set up a Cook Islands Trust, we don't just create a standalone trust. We take it a step further by putting a Cook Islands LLC inside of it. And this is a key element, and it's an important part of our strategy. And it's one of the reasons why we've set up more Cook Islands Trusts than anyone in the world. So you're the initial manager of the LLC. You're the signatory in the bank account, meaning you maintain the control over all of your assets that are inside the LLC, and the LLC is inside of the trust. So you're still in the driver's seat. You make the investment decisions. You can go online and make your stock trades, whatever. You control the distributions. If a lawsuit rises to a level where a judge could order you to hand over the money, our licensed bonded trustee law firm in the Cook Islands steps in, protecting your assets, making them untouchable to creditors. So they become the legal caretakers, and they're your shield from the storm. And the question we often get here is, what if the trustee runs off with my money? Well, the Cook Islands Trust industry is the most tightly regulated, regimented, regulatory body in the world. We've never seen a client lose money from a Cook Islands Trust, and the integrity is impeccable. The regulators are all over the trustees to make sure things are done properly. And also the trustees are licensed, they're bonded, insured, and the heads of the organization that we use are our attorneys. So think of it like having a bulletproof vest for your wealth. Your assets stay safe, and you retain the control until you need our licensed bonded law firm trustee to step in for you. So it's like an insurance policy that you hope you never have to use. But you're incredibly grateful when you do have it in place. Okay, now section 3 of our talk, common mistakes to avoid. Now, setting up an offshore asset protection structure requires expertise and experience. And here are 3 massive mistakes that people make that can cost them dearly. Mistake number 1, choosing the wrong jurisdiction. Now, some people think going offshore just means any old foreign country. Wrong. Places like the Bahamas or the Cayman Islands may seem appealing, but the laws are weaker and they're more susceptible to legal attack. For example, the Bahamas do recognize foreign judgment. In the Cayman Islands, you need to have the assets in the trust for 6 years before they're protected. The Cook Islands, on the other hand, are specifically designed for asset protection. It protects assets right away. Somebody tries to challenge the transfer of assets into a trust, your opponent is almost sure to lose. And if they don't file the challenge within the 1 to 2 year statutory period of you forming and funding the trust, the courts will reject the case altogether. Plus, the Cook Islands don't recognize foreign judgments. So your opponent would have to file a new case in the Cook Islands, which has laws that are very unfriendly to plaintiffs and very friendly to those under legal attack. Mistake number 2, not complying with legal requirements. Offshore trusts must be set up correctly with the right legal filings. And if you don't follow the rules, you could face penalties or even worse, lose your protection. So there are specific reporting requirements, both in the U.S. and the Cook Islands, that must be followed. And missing these deadlines can have serious consequences. Now, we've not had such issues since we've set up more Cook Islands trusts than anybody in the world, and it goes to show that experience pays. Mistake number 3, failing to maintain the trust. Now, asset protection is not a set it and forget it deal. You need to keep your trust active in order to maintain your protection. And keep this in mind, people who are sued are usually sued more than once. So keep your castle walls strong so that you're ready for the next attack. Section number 4 of this talk, maintaining your offshore asset protection. So once you have your Cook Islands Trust in place, how do you maintain it? It's not difficult, but it requires diligence. So first of all, stay compliant with reporting requirements. In fact, we help our clients with this process. We make sure all the necessary paperwork is filed correctly, and we help clients do it on time. Next is diversify your offshore holdings. So don't put all of your eggs in one basket, even within your offshore trust. So spread your investments across different asset classes. We often set up accounts for our clients in Switzerland, which has some of the safest, strongest banks in the world, with some of the best money managers in the world. They'll help you set up and maintain your investment portfolio that has the right balance of, say, growth and safety, really tailored to your needs. So we'll talk with you to see what your needs are, and they'll tailor it to your likes and needs. Next, keep in touch with your asset protection attorney or consultant to make updates as needed. In fact, we offer regular reviews of our clients' trusts to make sure they're still meeting the needs that are in compliance with all the applicable laws and regulations. Okay, next part. Let's talk about the Lawyers Limited Advantage. Our law firm is called Lawyers Limited. I've been setting up trusts in the Cook Islands for nearly 30 years, and I've been in the asset protection field for 34 of those years. My firm, Lawyers Limited, and I have set up more Cook Islands trusts, as I said, than any firm in the world. So we have the experience, the expertise, and the track record to help protect your wealth, and we understand the intricacies of Cook Islands law. We know how to structure the trust to maximize its effectiveness, and we don't just set up a trust and walk away. We provide ongoing support and guidance. We do screen sharing sessions. We hold your hands through the process and the setup process and afterwards. So we're with you every step of the way. And we also understand that every client is unique, and your financial situation, your business, your family, these are all factors that really need to be considered when designing your asset protection plan. So that's why we take time to really get to know our clients and understand their specific needs. We create customized solutions that are tailored to their individual circumstances. And we want to make sure that our clients feel heard and understood, and they really understand what they're getting and how it works. Okay, now case studies and examples. Let me share a couple of brief case studies to illustrate the power of Cook Islands Trust. Case study number 1, a successful entrepreneur, built a thriving business over decades, and this client of ours was constantly worried about frivolous lawsuits. So he set up a Cook Islands Trust after he called us, and a few years later, a disgruntled former employee sued him for a ridiculous amount. And because his assets were protected in the Cook Islands Trust, the lawsuit really went nowhere. He was able to focus on his business and not be distracted by all this legal harassment. Case study number 2, the real estate investor. A real estate investor owned several properties, and he was concerned about liability from slip and falls and accidents and things where they're sued for more than their insurance covers, and this happens all the time, and other potential lawsuits. So we established a Cook Islands Trust. We set up different structures for the real estate, land trusts, LLCs, equity stripping liens. We used all this to shield the real estate holdings. And when a tenant was injured on one of the properties, the lawsuit was directed at the structures and not him personally. And since we had stripped out all the equity in that particular property that was associated with that particular liability, he lost nothing. So what we set up limited his personal liability and protected his other assets. So these are just a couple of examples of how Cook Islands Trust can protect your wealth. In fact, we've helped countless individuals and businesses protect their assets from lawsuits, creditors, and other legal threats. So next section here, addressing the common concerns that we hear from clients and potential clients. I often get asked a few common questions about offshore asset protection, and so I want to go ahead and address them here. So first of all, is it legal? The answer is absolutely. Offshore asset protection and offshore asset protection trusts are completely legal, and it's about legally structuring your assets to protect them for potential future liabilities. It's not about hiding money from the government. It's not about evading taxes or engaging in any illegal activity. Next is it's complicated. Well, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. And that's where we come in. We handle all of the complexities of setting up and maintaining your Cook Islands Trust. And so we make the process smooth and seamless as possible for you. Next, is it expensive? Well, protecting your wealth is an investment. If somebody has $500,000 to, like, say, $5 million or more and has to spend, 25 to 50 grand to protect their assets, it's not expensive. But if somebody only has $25,000 to protect, yes, that's expensive for that particular person. And so we have other strategies that we employ depending on the amount of assets somebody has. So for those with adequate assets, the cost of setting up a Cook Islands Trust is really a small price to pay for the peace of mind and financial security that it provides. So basically, think about how much you could lose in a lawsuit. The cost of protecting is often far less than the potential cost of losing everything. Okay, the number one mistake. Now, I promised I would reveal the number one mistake people make with offshore trusts, and here it is. Waiting too long. That's number one. The best time to set up an offshore asset protection trust is before you have a legal problem. Once you're facing a lawsuit, we can still protect you, but your options are more limited. The courts may view the asset transfer as a fraudulent conveyance. Now, keep in mind, again, like I said, that's generally a civil matter, not a criminal one in most cases. But the key is to be proactive, not reactive. Plan ahead and protect your assets before you need to, and you'll be a lot better off. Now, in a divorce case, on the other hand, a financial restraining order is standard practice. So you have to set up your asset protection plan before you're served with divorce papers. Okay, finally, take action today. Don't wait until it's too late. So take control of your financial future and protect what you've worked so hard to build. In fact, feel free to contact my firm at assetprotectionplanners.com for a free consultation. And what we'll do is we'll walk you through it, assess your situation, and help you determine the best asset protection strategy for your particular needs. In fact, like I've said, we set up more Cook Islands Trusts, the strongest asset protection tool in anyone in the world. And I've been in this field for over 34 years. We have the experience and expertise to guide you through the process. So there you have it, the ultimate guide to offshore asset protection. If you found this video valuable, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more strategies to help keep your wealth safe. Go ahead and share this video with anyone you know who might be concerned about protecting their assets. And if you're serious and not just curious about protecting your assets, give our team a call. We're here to help you secure your financial future. So until next time, stay safe and protected, and I'll see you in the next video.